Hello and welcome to Policy and Politics with me, Tarun Nangia. Today we are going to discuss the all-important subject of managing economy with ecology. And the case in point today we have is the mining issue in the state of Goa. Now, as all of us know, Goa primarily is an economy running on two wheels. The first wheel is tourism, which gets a bulk of the state's revenue. The second most important revenue driver is mining, which gets a lot of revenue for the state. Now, Corona has ensured that tourism is all but collapsed, and we will not see tourism coming back, at least in the form it was, for the next 16 to 18 quarters. That's well into about 2 years' time is what we are talking of. Mining has been closed in the state for the past 2 years. So what are we looking at? We are looking at a situation where the state has been bankrupted or taken off the two enabling arms which funds or gets revenue. And that has impacted common people, that has impacted the state's finances, which is forced to borrow. And in a sense, we will discuss why, when taking any policy or legal decision, looking at both aspects, economy and ecology, both are important. And I'm very happy to have a stellar panel with me today. We've got experience on the judicial side. We've got experience on the executive side. We have experience on the policy making side. And we also have experience from public intellectuals who read, write, and research on the subject. So may I welcome Justice Arjun Kumar Sikri, who has served as a judge of the Supreme Court of India. Sir, thank you so much for joining us today. I have with me Nilesh Kabral, who is a cabinet minister, sitting cabinet minister of the state government of Goa. We've got Aruna Sharma. Ma'am has served as Secretary, Ministry of Steel. She has also served in the Committee of Digitization of Payments in the Reserve Bank of India, and so on and so forth. We have got with us Charu Datta Panigrai. He's a mentor, Forum for Integrated Development and Research, but widely known as a public intellectual on various issues. I would like to thank Mr. Kabral, Aruna Sharma, and also Mr. Panagrai for joining us on today's show. Let us begin with a round of opening comments. May I ask Justice Sikri to open the show with his opening comment on the mining issue in Goa?
Thank you, Tarun. First, let me congratulate you for organizing this very important, I would say, discussion. And you have taken people from who have the respective experience in their different fields, and there can be what we call Sagar Manthan, and all would be joining together and putting our heads together. Yeah, it starts with the judgment which was given by the Supreme Court in the year 2018, banning mining, or in a way cancelling the licenses of almost 88 miners and those which were leases which were given, and which has the effect of now virtually no mining in the state of Goa. 2 or 3 things which we have to keep in mind, and on the basis of that the discussion can be generated, is that what was the judgment about? Then what was the scenario before this judgment as far as the mining is concerned, and the mining, what kind of specific mining of, I mean, which items, etc. was there, and what was the significance of that? And then the third would be that what is the impact of that judgment? As you rightly said, that this was the basic source of revenue apart from revenue from tourism as far as the state of Goa is concerned. So how the total ban on mining has affected that? So we have to keep in mind these aspects, and based on that, what are the possible solutions we have to think about it. Now, let us be very clear. You have, although you have rightly touched upon the subject of ecology also, which I will come to and give my preliminary remarks on that. But then before that, as far as judgment of the Supreme Court is concerned, we have to first keep in mind that it did not take into consideration, or that was not the issue involved insofar as ecology or environment is concerned. the case was altogether different in nature, and a pure legal issue which was before the court was under the Mines and Minerals Regulation and Development Act 1957. The leases which were renewed or given were whether they when they these expired. Now, if I tell you in brief the background, that before the Goa became it was became independent and became the part of Indian territory, as all of us know that it was the Portuguese regime which was there. And what is important is that the Portuguese regime had granted mining concessions in the state in perpetuity. So they were perpetual in nature. There was no timeline fixed. So all these 88 mining leases, in that sense, when they were granted, there was no timeline fixed. Of course, when in 1968 Goa was liberated, and thereafter the Mines and Minerals Act was also extended to Goa. Now, under the Mines and Mineral Act, the leases are for specified period, 30 years normally, and which can be extended, etc. And another act which was passed was Goa, Daman and Diu Mining Concession Abolition and Declaration of Mining Leases Act 1987. Now, under this act, it was declared that the mining concessions which are given earlier to all these persons, they would be deemed to be mining leases since 1961. So 1961 was the date fixed. If we calculate from 1961, then it finishes in 1991. But so it was from retrospective in 87, but from 1961. So this was challenged. And the Bombay High Court, although upheld the validity of the act, but then it very categorically held that the leases would be prospective. So if the act was in 1987 and we calculate 30 years from there, then I mean, comes to 2017 or so. So therefore, the question was, of course, this I need not go into these issues in detail, but ultimately the Supreme Court decided that the leases, the manner in which they were given and they were extended, that should not have been done. And e-auction is the better process. And that was the reason for cancelling all these mining leases. I'm not going into, for time being, the merit of the judgment, whether judgment is right or wrong, etc. All those issues are pending. Even review petitions have been filed, and now the Gaon Sabha also, because they have been affected to great extent, they have also been impleaded. So on the one hand, the matter in the form of review is pending before the Supreme Court again, as far as that judgment is concerned. But then again, coming to a question is that whether it should have been done or not. And even if it was found that the proper course is e-auction, etc., in the meantime, whether it was necessary for the court to stop the mining altogether, and okay, by cancelling these licenses, which had the effect of, as I said, stoppage of mining. And when everybody knows that insofar as state of Goa is concerned, the main source of revenue apart from tourism is from this mining. And it is not only the revenue of the state, the impact which it has. Let us now see that livelihood. 3 lakhs persons who were whether directly involved, 70,000 and odd, or 2.5 that supporting industry. So they have been rendered unemployed. It has the cascading effect also, because the normally transportation was in the form of barges or through trucks. So they have been almost 165 barges have been rendered useless. 12,000 trucks are not able to do. So the loss of revenue to the barges owner is about 500 crores, 165 crores insofar as truck owners are concerned. And revenue to the loss to the government is, as I am told, and I have read, 3,400 crores in the revenue. But then more important thing is that most of the iron ore which was being mined, most of it was, or almost entire was exported. And there's the export earning of almost 6,000 crores monthly again have been sacrificed, and we have not been able to take that. Now, in a situation like this, let us now even talk about the environment as well. The issues which arise, which I say, and I have projected in my one of my judgments also in Shiv Shakti Sugar Mills case in the Supreme Court, that whenever Supreme Court passes any such order, it has to look into, and because there is a disconnect between the law and economics. Therefore, the economic effect has to be kept in mind while finding a solution. So the question is, even if it is assumed for time being that the decision on law was correct decision, but then whether it was necessary to close this mining altogether, or there would have been another method or other alternative adopted to, in order to ensure that mining doesn't come to standstill, so that all these effects are not there. So therefore that is what is to be seen, and in that light, and as you rightly said, in today's time, because of COVID, when no income from tourism also is there, a state cannot be made to starve, because state has to have its funds for so many purposes. Not only so many activities are to be taken, but welfare activities in for the public also are to be carried out, and as well as resources, etc., or the sorry livelihood, etc., of the people is concerned, which I have highlighted. So all those things are to be kept in mind, and now we have to, yes, it is 2 years now, we have to find a solution today as to how this should be I mean, restored, and in what form it can be restored, even while keeping in mind the ecological or environmental aspect, to which I'll come later. So this is what I wanted to say as introduction.
That's a well-made point by Justice Sikri, where he explained both the economy and the ecology concepts, and also spoke a bit on the judgment. But it is indeed a comedy of errors of what's happening. Foreign exchange we can't accrue. People are out of jobs. Tourism has collapsed, and decision is not being taken. It's a classic Indian thing we see in many sectors. That's why, before going to Mr. Kavral, I'll go across to Aruna Sharma. Ma'am, where should the solution come from? I mean, there are two angles to it. We want the judiciary to do everything to, any sensitive issue, let's get the judiciary to give an order. We will not do anything. So should the solution come from policy, or should the solution come from the judiciary for this issue? Who should we look up to, the government or the courts?
Very rightly put forward by you, and with a background given by Justice Sikri. I'll put it this way, that where is the real problem? The real problem is understanding that which law prevails. You have an MMDR Act which was amended in 2015, and where it allowed for a 50 years of lease period, which was there in the Abolition Act. Now that is where the stalemate has come, and that is where we are stuck. So it is all a question of interpretation by the policymakers. So if you look at the Abolition Act, of which had given, where the concession was converted into a lease in 1961 and 50 years, and like Justice Sikri very rightly said, that the prospective or retrospective is now a settled issue. It has to be prospective. You cannot have any leases which are retrospective. So with these two things given, what it needs is a clarity to be issued by the policymakers. Absolutely clear that number one, the law says of the land that it will be retrospective. And number two, what is equally important in this is that when we are talking about the 50 years of lease, that is what has to be made very clear, that which one prevails over the other. Because it was a commitment when 61 it merged into us, and all cleaning was done because of that, of merging smoothly of Goa into India. So this was like a commitment given for 50 years. And MMDR Act also permits the lease which were given on allocation basis to Tata and other public sectors. Their lease is also continuing. So it is not something new which has to be brought in. And that's where these two lines of clarity, that yes, number one, it is retrospective, and it cannot be retrospective, it is prospective. And number two, that the 50 years from 31st of May 1987 will prevail as the lease period for them, so that it saves you from the MMDR Act amendment, which has a provision of MMDR Act 2015 of 30 years, which was ending later for many of these companies, which were allocated for the rest of India. That has to be worked out. So the policymaker at the most can negotiate a little bit on the 50 years, Right. So whether you want to cut down it to 2027 or you want to make it 2023 or whatever it is, but that is how it will have to work upon. And that is where the solution lies. As far as court is concerned, Justice Sikri made it very clear they have issued it as a ban. The moment this policy clarification comes, I think the court's job is to interpret and the things will get smoothed out
It's very
as we
interesting.
proceed.
Could you mention that? And that's why the Shiv Shakti Sugar Mill judgment is what a lot of us should read of. And that's why it's praised and cited again and again in so many forums that I go to.
Absolutely.
So I'll go to Mr. Nilesh Cabral. Sir, I want to get you in precisely for one reason. We have the same party government in Goa as well as the center. People want mining to be opened. And the Honorable Chief Minister of Goa has taken it up. The Home Minister also, I was told that, he constituted a committee or told people to look into this. The Prime Minister was also appealed in April by the Goa Chief Minister. So if I may ask you, the same party government is there, so there is no party politics here. Why is mining still closed in Goa?
Well, I will not be able to answer you just offhand, but I think Justice Shikri and Madam Sharma have put it rightly.
Can you be a bit louder? We can't hear.
I will be a little. So,
Yes.
See, what has happened is you have absolutely said right. Commenting on party politics is something where I will hear me, no?
Yes, yes. Can you put earphones?
I can hear you clearly.
Okay, okay. Please go on. Yes.
So we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay.
What has happened is party politics leaving aside, the basic aim of the Supreme Court judgment when Justice Shikri has said, is basically gone into technical affairs. And as policy makers, the state government cannot do it because state government in the assembly has also taken a resolution that we should continue mining for the next 50 years based on the 1987 Abolition Act. The Abolition Act by itself had to come to the state of Goa. No other state has got an Abolition Act. What is the reason for the Abolition Act is even though Goa was liberated in 1961, we could not come into purview of the MMDR Act because what was said at that time that all acts which are in the center are implemented in the state and the acts which the Goa has which are not in the center, they continue. This is the prospect which has helped us in that 87 ordinance, and the mind from 61 to 87 worked on the principle, and when the ordinance was brought, they tried to bring it into 30 years or that 10 years and 10 years and 10 years, whatever renewable. Now, if you are aware that uniform civil code is only in the state of Goa. Marriages are registered in Goa from the year 1914. So still rest of India is not being done. So what I am trying to say is Goa was separate, and that is what we have been telling the Honorable Prime Minister, we have been telling the Honorable Home Minister, we have been telling the Honorable Mines Minister that Goa has to be considered separately for this particular case. The technicalities involved are creating also a lot of hassles for us. Now, the question what Mr. Tarun has put up is why is it not happening? Well, I cannot answer because we are very clear. Now, why it is not happening? Maybe we'll have to take a debate with Mr. Amit Shah or Mr. Narendra Modi or Mr. Mines Minister and we can ask him. But in Goa, the entire opposition, entire government is on one principle that because of this technical error, which is also not decided, it is the constitutional bench where maybe 11 bench or 7 bench has to sit and they have clubbed this case with some Bombay matter of some tenanted association. I mean, you just can't continue. Somewhere it has to be finished. And I think that that particular thing, the Honorable Supreme Court has to give the benefit of doubt and allow mining. See, mining, even though it is continuing in the state of Goa, all other prevalent laws are in force. Maybe the auction thing is not there. But for that, the Goans cannot suffer, which I and my government are on the same principle, including the entire opposition. So now, who has to decide whether the judgment given by the Supreme Court judges has to take a view again and decide, okay, till a situation comes, we allow for the next 4 years, but we should decide in our constitutional bench that matter which has been pending from the year 1987.
One quick question, very quick small answer from you before I go to Charudatta Panigree on the social impact of stoppage of mining. Sir, I want to ask you, what is the fiscal situation of the state? Because tourism and mining both have been affected.
We are in a very bad state. There's no doubt about it. We are surviving on taking loans. Let me be very blunt to you. The loans are being formed in the bonds, and we are every month 200, 300, 100 crores bonds have been floated, and that is how we are surviving, which is a very bad precedent for the state to set up, because down the line somewhere we have to pay, and then the economy of the state will collapse because we will not be able to pay, and then it's going to be a very bad state.
In effect, the future generations of Goans are going to pay the debts that the government is taking today. So it's a debt on the youngsters of today.
For no reason.
For no reason.
I'll go. We could have continued mining for such a time that the economic situation in Goa, and to tell you a fact, that even though Goa, state of Goa, does not get the entire amount of the benefit, center shares majority of the amount, but the economic activity surrounding the state improves the situation of individuals.
Mr. Palanigrahi, you have come up with white papers on the impact on the stoppage of mining in Goa. Could you give us a sense in a minute or two about what is the kind of impact that this is having?
Tarun, this is having a very detrimental impact, to say the least. What has happened in the last 2-3 years, even more? I mean, when we are saying that mining has stopped for the last 2 years, we are actually forgetting the previous years also. So intermittently, mining has been operational. More, it has been closed. So when I'm saying this, what happens is the impact could be seen in 3 major areas. So what we've done is we come out with these annual reports on the status of livelihoods of Goa every year. And our state has 3 basic problems. I would say individual, internal, external. At the individual level, it's no more an economic burden, or it's no more staring at a bleak future. It's actually a psychosocial problem now. A problem of fearing of loss of livelihoods and actual loss of livelihoods. There is complete doldrum, there's complete stalemate. So the family income has dipped, the indebtedness has risen, the loans are not being able to be repaid. The loan burden has increased, NPAs have increased, downstream industries have not been operational, so the families are suffering. Now at an internal level, for the state, for our state, what happens is the internal social fabric of the state is taking a dent, a severe dent because of this. So there are many social vices increasing, youth migrating out, and youth not interested. So there is this participation in the mainstream of the state is decreasing, which is a very, very tense situation. And it's actually, I would say, a situation where the youth below 35 would not like to stay in a state where there is no guarantee or there is no assurance of their income with gainful employment or self-employment.
That's 2-3 very important points.
And the third one, Tarun, let me tell you, is the external. The confidence of the investors to come to Goa.
Yes.
Now, if there are no sectors operational, if there are such impediments, the coming of in confidence of the investors to invest in the state is decreasing, and it's dwindling, and that's a matter of great.
That's a very important point put forth by you. In fact, I was speaking recently to somebody who's part of the World Mining Congress. He told me all over the world, mines are given to anybody who can mine and get foreign exchange for the country. It's only in India that we have come up with concepts of auction and so on and so forth. The impact is all of us to see. A lot of investors in other states have not come forward to even take up mines because the kind of revenue share is quite complicated, but we are not getting into that today. Since we are running out of time, I'll go across to Justice Sikri. Sir, you have analyzed the issue. Very quickly, sir, if I can know from you, other states have benefited from the second renewal of mining leases. And what could be the remedy in Goa in view of that? Because Goans in Goa are suffering, be it the government, be it the people, and be it the common man of Goa who eventually suffer because the state is just taking debt every month.
As well as you are right, Tarun, as far as suffering is concerned, I think it is very eloquently brought out in this discussion. And wants to say that in other states, others are benefited, why that treatment should not be meted out to state of Goa as well. So therefore, they are entitled to second renewal in any case on the principle of parity as well. Insofar as remedy today is concerned, it can be seen from judicial angle, legislative angle, and policy. Insofar as policy is concerned, Madam Sharma has already pointed out. So that is one way. So I need not repeat that to overcome this problem. Now, coming to judicial side. Now, in judicial, what I feel is one is that, as I said, that review petitions, etc., are pending, and Gaon Sabha has also intervened. But the only problem is when it comes to review, the jurisdiction in review of the Supreme Court would be very limited. If it is only pointed out that the judgment, there was an apparent error in the judgment, which it may be a very difficult task. At the same time, it can be highlighted in review petitions, according to me, that all these aspects which we have discussed now, the law and economics, and very emphatically, which Mr. Panigrahi also mentioned about the impact, individual, external, internal. So they were not being looked into. So therefore, and particularly when Gaon Sabha has come and intervened, and if they say maybe it happens, and if you know, we have now some instances in recent past, as I give you the example of LGBT case. Although initially Supreme Court had overturned the judgment in Nas Foundation, review was also dismissed, but by with another writ petition matter going to Constitution bench, and ultimately the judgment was turned down. So that is one way. Another way could be that the matter which is pending, Property Owners Association versus State of Maharashtra, which our minister also pointed out. One application can be filed in that look, so long as the matter is not taken into consideration, because it will have a direct impact. If suppose that is decided in favor, then naturally all this is taken care of. Why not in the meantime, because of all these reasons, some interim measure should be passed on judicial side, so that even when ecology or environment aspects are taken care of and sustainable development on that principle, there can't be a complete ban on mining, and maybe on that basis, Supreme Court may see some reason in that and pass some interim order. That is on judicial side. But when it comes to legislative side, I think it is very easy, because even when the judgment is given, it is, as I told you, and Madam Sharma also pointed out on that, the issue which is there, and if it is clarified even by amendment, that it is only retrospective and it will operate from all those from 1987, it immediately takes us to 2037. So therefore, if such an amendment is passed, which legislature is competent to do, that can be done. So any of these methods. So there is a remedy on judicial side, there is a remedy on policy side, there is a remedy on legislative side also. It is only now the mindset which is to be changed of the respective person, and somebody has to come forward to give relief.
That's a very, very good, in a sense, analysis that you have done of the issue. We will again revisit this issue very soon, in 2 or 3 weeks, to assess what's happened. Have we progressed on it? Have the people sitting in Delhi taken cognizance of it? Because Goa is suffering and there needs to be a solution. We can't just let it wither away because the economy is suffering. I would like to thank Justice Sikri, Mr. Nilesh Cabral, Aruna Sharma, Charudatta Panigrahi for sparing your time, and getting all of you together was difficult, but you all were kind enough to share your time with us. Thank you so very much, all of you, for joining me on Policy and Politics today. Thank you, viewers, for watching this show today. Thank you.
Thank you, Tarun. Thank you, Tarun, for helping us. Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.